10 signs someone secretly dislikes you but won't admit it. Let's be honest. Most people won't outright tell you they don't like you. Instead, they hide behind forced smiles, fake compliments, and polite small talk. It's frustrating, isn't it? You might believe someone is your friend, only to later realize they were secretly rooting for your downfall all along. If you don't recognize the signs, you could waste time and energy on people who don't truly respect or understand you. That's why it's crucial to cut through the pretense and spot the subtle ways people show their dislike. Some of these signs might be hard to hear, but it's always better to face the truth than to live in denial. Here are 10 unmistakable signs that someone dislikes you but is trying to hide it. 1. They constantly joke about your flaws. We all know that one person who always has a joke, especially when the joke is at your expense. They pick at your quirks, your mistakes, even your personal style, all while flashing a grin and saying, "Relax, I'm just kidding." At first, it seems harmless. But let's be real. These aren't just light-hearted jokes. They're calculated jabs disguised as humor, designed to chip away at your confidence little by little. I once had a friend who always made comments about the way I dressed, the way I spoke, and even the things I was passionate about. At first, I laughed it off. But over time, I noticed a pattern. These jokes always targeted my weaknesses, never my strengths. It wasn't playful teasing. It was a subtle way of putting me down. Here's the truth. When someone consistently jokes about your flaws, they're testing the waters, seeing how much disrespect you'll tolerate. It's a form of manipulation, a power play to make you feel inferior. And the worst part? Society has conditioned us to believe that if we can't take a joke, we're the problem. But let's flip that script. There's nothing wrong with standing up for yourself. If a joke makes you uncomfortable, call it out. Real friends won't need to insult you to feel better about themselves. 2. Their compliments feel more like insults. Have you ever received a compliment that left you feeling worse instead of better? That's because it wasn't a real compliment. It was a backhanded insult in disguise. Things like, "Wow, you're actually really smart for someone like you. That's a great idea, surprisingly. You look nice today. What's the occasion?" I remember working hard on a project I was proud of. When I shared it, a colleague smiled and said, "This is actually pretty good for you." Those last 2 words changed everything. Instead of encouragement, it felt like a slap in the face. These so-called compliments are designed to undermine your confidence while allowing the speaker to maintain a facade of friendliness. They're subtle power plays meant to keep you questioning yourself. If someone consistently gives you backhanded compliments, don't just let it slide. Ask them directly, "What do you mean by that?" Putting them on the spot forces them to acknowledge their hidden insult. And if their behavior doesn't change, you might need to reconsider your relationship with them. 3. They subtly exclude you from plans. One of the clearest signs of hidden dislike is exclusion, being accidentally left out of plans. You see pictures of a group outing you would have loved to attend, but no one mentioned it to you. And when you bring it up, they scramble for excuses. "Oh, we thought you were busy. It was a last-minute thing. Oops, we totally forgot to invite you." Let's be real. These aren't accidents. It's deliberate. It's their way of sending a message without actually saying the words. "You're not as valued here as you think." I have been in that situation before, looking at my phone and discovering that some friends had left without me. When I asked about it, they brushed it off. But deep down, I knew the truth. If they wanted me there, they would have made sure I knew. If this keeps happening to you, don't just sit in silence, hoping it'll change. Call it out. "Hey, I noticed I wasn't invited. Was that intentional?" Yes, it might make things awkward, but it also forces people to be honest about where you stand. Real friends make the effort to include you. If you're constantly feeling like an afterthought, maybe it's time to find a new group, one that actually values your presence. 4. They're busy only when it comes to you. We've all heard it before. Sorry, I'm just so busy these days. At first, it sounds like a valid excuse. After all, life gets hectic. But what happens when you start noticing a pattern? They're always available for others, posting pictures of outings, catching up with mutual friends, yet somehow they're always too busy for you. Here's the harsh truth. They're not too busy, they're just too busy for you. I've been in this situation more times than I care to admit. I once had a close friend who I kept trying to reconnect with. Every time I suggested meeting up, they had an excuse. Work is crazy right now. Maybe next week. But then I'd see them out with others, always finding time for everyone, except me. It took me a while to recognize the pattern, but once I did, it was clear. I was no longer a priority in their life. The reality? People make time for who and what they care about. If they're always too busy for you, it's not their schedule, it's their priorities. And that's a tough pill to swallow. 5. They avoid physical contact like the plague. Physical contact is a basic part of human connection. We're not just talking about romantic relationships. Simple gestures like handshakes, pats on the back, or friendly hugs help build trust and closeness. So what does it mean when someone goes out of their way to avoid even the most casual touch? They're sending a message. They're uncomfortable around you. I once had a colleague who seemed to flinch every time I reached out for a handshake. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but then I noticed they were perfectly fine with others. Around me, they stiffened up. Some people just aren't physically affectionate, and that's okay. But when the avoidance is selective, it's a red flag. Their body language is telling you what their words won't. They're not comfortable with you. I used to ignore these signs, convincing myself that it was just their personality. But looking back, I realize when someone avoids physical closeness, they're avoiding emotional closeness too. 6. They disappear when you need support. Nothing tests a relationship like tough times. When life gets hard, you quickly learn who's truly in your corner. So what does it say about someone when they vanish the moment you need them most? I learnt this lesson the hard way. During one of the most challenging times in my life, I reached out to friends I had always supported. I wasn't asking for much, just a listening ear. Instead, I got excuse after excuse. Sorry, I'm really busy right now. I'll check in with you later. Spoiler alert, they never did. Here's the painful truth. Some people only stick around for the good times. They'll laugh with you and celebrate with you, but the moment things get serious, they disappear. True support isn't about convenience. It's about being there when it's hard. The people who vanish when you need them most are showing you exactly where you stand in their life. And honestly, it's better to know now than to keep investing in one-sided relationships. 7. They gossip about you behind your back. Gossip is one of the most toxic behaviors in any relationship. It destroys trust, ruins reputations, and reveals someone's true character. If someone you consider a friend is talking behind your back, they're not just sharing a harmless story, they're actively betraying you. I've been on the receiving end of gossip, and let me tell you, it stings. I once confided in someone I trusted, only to find out days later that my personal struggles were now public knowledge. The worst part? The story had been twisted and exaggerated. That's when I realized, if someone gossips about others to you, they're gossiping about you to others. People who respect you won't use your struggles as entertainment. If you catch someone constantly bad-mouthing others, take it as a warning, because when you're not around, you're the one they're talking about. 8. They're only nice to you in front of others. Have you ever noticed someone acting warm and friendly in public, but cold and distant in private? It's no accident. Some people only keep up appearances when there's an audience. I had a coworker like this, super nice at work events, cracking jokes, acting like we were close. But the moment we were alone, Short answers, minimal effort. Almost like I was a stranger. It was obvious. They didn't actually like me, they just wanted to look like they did. This behavior is common in people who don't want to be seen as rude, but also don't want to put in the effort of a real relationship. They're not being nice because they care. They're being nice because they care about their image. 9. They constantly undermine or dismiss you. Subtle put-downs can be even more harmful than outright insults. If someone consistently belittles your achievements, mocks your interests, or makes you feel small, they're not being playful. They're showing a lack of respect. I once shared an exciting career milestone with a friend, expecting support. Instead, they responded with, "Oh, that's cool, but it's not really that impressive." It wasn't the words, it was the tone, the passive-aggressive smirk, the way they always found a way to minimize my accomplishments. If someone constantly dismisses your feelings, downplays your successes, or makes you feel unimportant, don't ignore it. Their actions are revealing what they really think of you. 10. They're secretly competing with you. A little friendly competition can be fun, but when someone constantly tries to outshine you, turns everything into a contest, or seems to enjoy seeing you struggle, it's a sign of underlying resentment. I once had a friend who never celebrated my wins, only tried to one-up them. If I got a promotion, they'd casually mention how they had already been offered something better. If I shared good news, they'd downplay it or shift the focus to themselves. The truth? They didn't see me as a friend. They saw me as competition. Real friends celebrate your successes. They don't feel threatened by them. Final thoughts. Trust your instincts. Disguised dislike is more common than we often admit. Whether it comes in the form of passive-aggressive jokes, subtle exclusion, or hidden insults, people's actions will always reveal their true feelings, no matter how well they try to conceal them. So, what can you do? Trust your gut. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Set boundaries. Disrespect, even when masked as humor, is still disrespect. Surround yourself with real connections. Choose people who uplift you, not those who bring you down. Life is too short to invest in relationships that don't honor your worth. If someone's actions make you feel small, take a step back and ask yourself, is this relationship truly serving me? At the end of the day, you deserve to be around people who recognize your value and aren't afraid to show it. If someone's behavior suggests resentment, indifference, or subtle hostility, remember, walking away is always an option. Thanks for watching.